Before the world called him that, before the headlines, the fashion shows, the controversies, there was just a boy named Kanye West, born June 8, 1977, in Atlanta, Georgia. His father, Ray West, was a former Black Panther turned photojournalist, capturing the truth through a camera lens. His mother, Donda West, was an English professor, a woman with wisdom, warmth, and a fierce belief in her only son. When Kanye was 3, his parents divorced. He packed his little world into a suitcase and moved with his mother to Chicago, a city that was rough, loud, and full of lessons. This was where his story truly began. Picture this young kid sitting by a window in a small apartment, sketching ideas, writing words that didn't always make sense to anyone else but him. Chicago streets were tough, gangs on the corner, police sirens at night, dreams dying too soon. But Kanye, he wasn't a follower. He wasn't built for the corner life. He was the kid with headphones on, living in his own universe. His mother noticed his gift early. She let him dream, let him create. At 5 years old, Kanye was already writing little poems, like messages from a mind too busy to sit still. By 3rd grade, he was writing raps. By 30, he had recorded his first track in a tiny basement studio. Then came the beat machine. Kanye got his first keyboard and sampler, and everything changed. He would sit for hours, sometimes all night, chopping up soul records, turning them into something new. Music became his obsession, not a game, not a hobby, his purpose. But genius is lonely at first. Other kids laughed at him, called him different. Some said, "You're not hard enough for rap." He ignored them. He kept building beats, kept rapping over them, kept telling anyone who would listen, "One day, they'll hear me. One day, they'll know my name." Chicago gave him hunger. Struggle gave him focus. His mother gave him faith. And somewhere inside, he already knew he was destined to change music forever. The boy from Chicago wasn't just chasing a dream. He was preparing to shake the world, the city that tested him. New York City, the skyline lit up like a promise. But for Kanye West, it was a battlefield. He had left Chicago with little money, a bag full of beats, and a heart full of ambition. He walked into the city like he owned it, but the city didn't care. He started by knocking on every studio door that would open. Most of them didn't. When they did, they wanted his beats, not his voice. Kanye was typecast as a producer. To them, he was the guy behind the boards, not the guy on the mic. But Kanye wasn't built to stay in the background. He spent his days crafting beats for others, and his nights in the booth, rapping his own verses, recording his demo tape over and over again. He told anyone who would listen, "I'm not just a producer. I'm a rapper. I'm an artist." Then came a small break that changed everything. Rockefeller Records, Jay-Z's legendary label, started noticing him. Kanye's soulful beats were different, fresh, addictive. Soon, he was producing for Jay-Z himself. When HOVA dropped, people finally asked, "Who made this beat?" Kanye's name started spreading, but still, no one wanted to sign him as a rapper. They said his sound was too polished, too safe. They said rap fans wouldn't relate to a guy who didn't grow up in the streets, who wore pink Palace and backpacked through studios. That rejection cut deep. Kanye knew he was good enough, but the world wasn't ready. So, he worked harder. He networked. He hustled. He pushed his demo tape into every hand he could find. He knew that if just one person believed in him, the door would open. And then, the accident. A near-fatal car crash in Los Angeles left Kanye with a shattered jaw, wired shut. Most people would have rested, recovered. Kanye recorded a song. Through the pain, through the wires, he rapped what would become his first hit single, Through the Wire. New York had tested him, broken him, but it also gave him his moment. The boy from Chicago had just survived death, and now the world would have no choice but to hear his voice. The dropout who changed the game. The accident had nearly taken his life, but Kanye turned pain into power. Sitting in the studio with his jaw wired shut, he poured every ounce of frustration, ambition, and gratitude into music. That song, Through the Wire, wasn't just a track, it was a statement. I'm still here, I'm still coming. ROC finally gave him the green light. Kanye wasn't just producing anymore. He was about to tell his story to the world. He worked day and night on what would become his debut album. He called it The College Dropout, a direct reflection of his own life choice to leave college behind and chase his dream. When the album dropped in 2004, it didn't just make noise, it changed the sound of hip-hop. No gangster persona, no fake street stories, just honesty, vulnerability, and a new sound that mixed soul samples with sharp lyrics. Songs like All Falls Down, Jesus Walks, and Spaceship spoke to the dreamers, the underdogs, the ones who didn't fit the mold. Critics loved it. Fans connected with it. The album went triple platinum. Kanye West, the kid everyone doubted, had just proven them all wrong. But success didn't slow him down. If anything, it lit a fire under him. He was no longer just a producer turned rapper. He was an artist on a mission to raise the bar. His second album, Late Registration, came in 2005 with an even bigger sound. Orchestras, layered production, thought-provoking lyrics. Kanye was redefining what hip-hop could be. And yet, the fame, the pressure, the attention started changing him too. He became bolder, louder, more outspoken. He wanted the world to know he was great, not just good. Some called it arrogance, some called it confidence. Kanye didn't care. He once said, "If you're a fan of me, you're a fan of yourself. I represent the possibility of what you can do." By now, Kanye West was no longer just a name. He was a movement, a symbol of what happens when you refuse to be put in a box. The dropout had officially graduated, not from college, but from doubt. And he wasn't done yet. Graduation, the making of a superstar. By 2007, Kanye West was no longer just a rising artist. He was a force. And now, he was ready to take hip-hop to an even higher level. His third album, Graduation, was his boldest move yet. Gone were the traditional soul samples and heavy beats. Kanye went bigger, wider, global. He wanted music that sounded like the future, like stadium lights flashing, like victory. Inspired by U2's arena tours and Daft Punk's electronic sound, Kanye created an album meant to be played loud in front of thousands of people. Songs like Stronger and Good Life weren't just hits, they were anthems. But there was a storm brewing. Another giant in hip-hop, 50 Cent, was releasing his album Curtis the very same day. The media turned it into a war. Street rap versus backpack rap. Gangster versus visionary. Everyone watched as Kanye and 50 went head-to-head for the #1 spot. When the sales came in, Kanye won. Graduation sold nearly 1 million copies in its first week, crushing the competition. Hip-hop had officially shifted. The kid from Chicago had changed the game forever. Kanye took this victory straight to the stage. His glow-in-the-dark tour became legendary. A visual masterpiece with lights, lasers, and cinematic storytelling. Kanye wasn't just performing music. He was giving fans an experience, something they had never seen before in hip-hop. But fame came with its own price. His confidence grew into something louder, something more dangerous. The media started calling him arrogant. He spoke his mind on live television. He interrupted award shows. He refused to play it safe. Kanye was no longer just a rapper. He was a disruptor. And behind the scenes, life was testing him. The spotlight was bright, but it was also heavy. Fame was isolating. Pressure was building. And soon, Kanye would face the biggest heartbreak of his life. A tragedy that would change him forever. For now, though, he stood tall on the world stage. A champion who had turned rejection into triumph. The boy who once begged to be heard was now impossible to ignore. The day the music stopped, at the height of his success, when the world finally bowed to his vision, tragedy struck. In November 2007, Kanye West's world shattered. His mother, Donda West, the woman who had been his anchor, his biggest supporter, his best friend, passed away unexpectedly from surgical complications. Kanye was on tour when he got the news. The man who had just sold out arenas stood backstage in shock, unable to breathe. The cameras were still on him. Fans were screaming his name, but inside, he was broken. Donda wasn't just his mother. She was the voice that told him he could do anything. She was the person he called after every show, every win, every loss. And now, she was gone. Kanye kept performing, but something had changed. You could see it in his eyes. The pain, the confusion, the anger. Fame didn't matter anymore. Awards didn't matter. Money didn't matter. He was lost. In 2008, another blow hit him. The end of his engagement to Alexis Pfeiffer, the woman he had planned to marry. Two heartbreaks back-to-back pushed Kanye into a dark place. He started acting out in public, interrupting award shows, speaking with raw emotion that the media quickly labeled as outbursts. The world laughed. The internet mocked him. But nobody saw the man grieving behind the headlines. Kanye wasn't just acting out. He was crying for help. Then came 808s and Heartbreak, the album nobody expected. Auto-tuned, stripped down, emotional. It wasn't a rap album. It was a confession. Songs like Heartless and Welcome to Heartbreak bled pain. Some fans didn't understand it at first, but soon the world realized Kanye had just invented a new sound that would inspire an entire generation of artists. But personally, Kanye was spiraling. He left the spotlight, disappeared from interviews, traveled the world searching for meaning. Paris, Rome, Hawaii. He went anywhere he could escape the noise. This was the moment Kanye could have given up. He could have faded into the background, but somewhere deep inside, he still heard Donda's voice. Keep going. You're not finished yet. The darkest chapter of his life was about to lead to one of his greatest rebirths. Phoenix rises. Out of heartbreak, pain, and isolation, Kanye West began rebuilding himself. He disappeared into Hawaii, far from the flashing cameras, far from the gossip. There, in a quiet rented mansion-turned studio, he started working on something bigger than just music. He was building his redemption. He invited the best of the best, producers, writers, musicians, and created a creative boot camp. No distractions, no excuses. Days turned into nights, nights into mornings, as Kanye pushed everyone, including himself, to perfection. He was obsessed, relentless. The result, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. Released in 2010, it wasn't just an album. It was an experience. Critics called it one of the greatest albums of all time. Songs like Runaway, Power, and All of the Lights weren't just hits, they were cinematic masterpieces, painting Kanye's pain, ego, and brilliance all at once. He stood on stage in a red suit, performing Runaway, telling the world, "Let's have a toast for the Dousha bags." It was an apology and a declaration at the same time. Kanye wasn't hiding anymore. He was embracing every part of himself, the genius, the flaws, the controversy, and turning it into art. This era wasn't just about music. Kanye became a cultural force. He pushed boundaries in fashion, collaborating with designers, dreaming of building his own brand. People laughed at the idea of a rapper becoming a fashion mogul. Kanye didn't care. "I'm going to be the biggest designer of all time," he said with fire in his voice. But along with his creative rebirth came new challenges. His outspoken nature still sparked headlines. His relationship with the media remained complicated. Yet, this time, Kanye wasn't crumbling. He was in control. He was stronger, sharper, more focused than ever. And then came love. In 2012, Kanye began dating Kim Kardashian, one of the most famous women on the planet. For the first time in years, Kanye seemed happy again, smiling publicly, showing a softer side. In 2013, they welcomed their first daughter, Northwest. The man who once stood alone in pain was now building a family, a legacy. The phoenix had risen, and he was ready to take over the world again. This time on his own terms. Jesus, breaking every rule. By 2013, Kanye West wasn't just an artist. He was a cultural earthquake. The release of Jesus wasn't polite. It wasn't easy listening. It was raw, abrasive, confrontational. Minimalistic beats, distorted vocals, industrial sounds. Kanye ripped the rulebook of hip-hop in half and set it on fire. The world didn't know what to make of it. Critics called it chaotic. Fans called it genius. Kanye didn't care. He had never been a man to follow trends. Jesus was him refusing to be tamed, refusing to fit the mold, refusing to apologize for his ambition. On stage, he shocked audiences. Lyrics that spoke of godhood, fame, and power collided with confessional lines about love, loss, and vulnerability. The message was clear. Kanye West would not be contained. He was the artist, the provocateur, the man willing to risk everything for expression. Fashion became another battlefield. Collaborations with Adidas, the early designs of Yeezy sneakers. Kanye wasn't just making shoes. He was building a movement. People scoffed, said no rapper could succeed in fashion. Yet, every release sold out instantly, the world proving him right. Kanye wasn't just changing music. He was redefining culture itself. Behind the scenes, though, the man wrestled with demons. Fame, expectations, and constant media scrutiny tested him daily. His marriage, once the center of stability, faced strains under public attention. Social media became a battlefield where every statement, every post was dissected. Kanye spoke freely, boldly, even when it angered millions. He once said, "If I don't speak my truth, who will?" And that became his mantra. But through the chaos, there was brilliance. Jesus influenced an entire generation of musicians, producers, and artists. It taught the world that art could be fearless, that music could challenge, challenge. That boldness could change minds. Kanye had become more than a rapper, more than a producer, more than a celebrity. He was a disruptor, a visionary, a man rewriting the rules, and the world couldn't look away. Even in controversy, he remained unapologetically himself. Every interview, every performance, every creation screamed the same thing. I am Kanye West. I will break the rules, and I will rise again, stronger than ever. Family, fame, and the fall. Even geniuses have a price to pay. By the mid-2010s, Kanye West had it all: fame, fortune, music, and a family. His marriage to Kim Kardashian brought stability and joy. Their first daughter, North, arrived in 2013, followed by Saint, Chicago, and Som. For the first time in years, Kanye seemed grounded, a father balancing artistry and family. But the world doesn't allow peace for men like him. Fame weighed heavily. Every tweet, every interview, every public appearance was scrutinized. Every opinion was analyzed, every mistake magnified. The media painted him as unpredictable, erratic, even dangerous. And in the court of public opinion, judgment was relentless. Kanye felt misunderstood. The pressures of genius clashed with personal vulnerability. He spoke openly about mental health struggles, the highs and lows, the manic bursts, the crashes into despair. He was honest, raw, unfiltered, but honesty came at a cost. In 2016, Kanye's life became a headline almost every week. Controversial statements, late-night rants, and public meltdowns shook fans and critics alike. His creativity remained unstoppable, but personal life and mental health collided in a storm. The man who once transformed tragedy into art now struggled to hold everything together. Yet, in these moments, glimpses of humanity shone through. He would post heartfelt messages for his wife and children. He would talk about his mother, Donda, and the lessons she had left behind. Even in chaos, Kanye was a father, a son, a man trying to navigate an impossible world. And through it all, music became his therapy. The life of Pablo was messy, unfinished, experimental, a reflection of his mind at the time. Fans and critics argued over it, but those who listened closely heard a man wrestling with himself, with fame, and with love. Kanye West's life in this era was a delicate balance, soaring highs of creativity and deep public lows of scrutiny. Yet through it, one truth remained: he was never silent, never hidden, and never willing to compromise his vision. Even when the world questioned him, he continued to create, to push, to innovate. This was the Kanye before the world learned he could rise yet again, from chaos, from heartbreak, and from controversy, stronger than ever. The reinventing the legend. After years of turbulence, Kanye West entered a new era, one defined by reinvention. The man who had shocked the world, who had pushed music, fashion, and culture to their limits, now faced the challenge of rebuilding himself on his own terms. He returned to music with renewed focus. Albums like the Jesus is King and Donda weren't just collections of songs. They were confessions, declarations, experiments in sound, faith, and emotion. Kanye was exploring new territories, blending gospel with hip-hop, vulnerability with bravado, spirituality with celebrity. He wasn't just entertaining. He was challenging the world to feel, to think, to confront the contradictions of fame and genius. Fashion, too, became a battlefield of reinvention. Yeezy had evolved from sneakers into an entire lifestyle brand, defining streetwear for a generation. Kanye's vision was no longer just about style. It was about influence, culture, and legacy. He brought runway shows to unconventional spaces, built shoes that sold out instantly, and turned collaboration into an art form. His ambitions weren't small. He wanted the world to see that a rapper could dominate multiple industries, that creativity could be limitless. Yet, reinvention wasn't without struggle. Public opinion remained harsh. Every choice, from music to social commentary to personal life, was dissected under a microscope. But Kanye learned to embrace the chaos. He spoke openly about mental health, faith, and self-expression. He admitted mistakes, faced backlash, and yet never compromised his vision. He had learned a truth most never do. Genius often walks hand in hand with controversy, and authenticity is rarely convenient. Family remained central. His children, his bond with Kim, and the memory of his mother continued to anchor him. In interviews, speeches, and social media posts, Kanye shared glimpses of gratitude, lessons learned, and hope for the future. Even amid public struggles, he remained a father, a son, and a creator. Kanye West's story in this era is one of persistence, reinvention, and audacity. From a kid in Chicago with a dream, to a global icon, to a man confronting himself in public, he showed the world that life's storms can be survived, that failure can be transformed into art, and that true genius lies in refusing to settle for less than everything you can be. The legend was far from finished. There was still writing, still creating, still inspiring. The legacy of Fearless. Kanye West's story is more than music, more than fashion, more than headlines. It is the story of fearlessness, of refusing to settle, of turning setbacks into fuel for greatness. From a boy in Chicago dreaming alone in his bedroom, to a global icon commanding stages, runways, and stadiums, Ye's life teaches one truth above all. Vision without action is nothing, but action without belief is wasted. He faced rejection after rejection. Record labels said he wasn't a rapper. Critics mocked his sound. Life threw tragedies, losing his mother, heartbreaks, public scrutiny, and battles with mental health. And yet, Kanye never stopped creating. He turned grief into art, criticism into innovation, doubt into motivation. Every failure became a lesson, every setback a step toward reinvention. Kanye's rise wasn't just about talent. It was about relentless persistence. He taught the world that genius often requires sacrifice, that originality will always meet resistance, and that the courage to be different is worth more than fitting in. He refused to conform, refused to be silenced, refused to apologize for dreaming bigger than anyone else thought possible. But he also showed the human side, the pain, the vulnerability, the love that fuels his soul. Family, faith, and connection mattered to him more than awards. Behind the bold statements and public spectacle was a man who loved deeply, grieved openly, and cared fiercely. His mistakes, his controversies, his highs and lows, they all make the story real. They make it relatable. They make it inspirational. Kanye West's journey is a call to action for anyone with a dream. To take risks when the world doubts you. To embrace failure as a teacher. To transform pain into purpose. To create without fear. To pursue excellence relentlessly. Even when the path is uncertain. Even when the odds are stacked against you. The legacy of the is not just in his music or his brand. It's in the courage he embodies, in the message that no matter how dark the night, no matter how heavy the burden, you can rise, you can evolve, you can leave a mark so indelible The world cannot ignore it. Kanye West's life is a reminder. Greatness is messy, fearless, relentless, and human. And if you dare to dream like he dared, there is no limit to what you can achieve.